What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. In today's session, we're talking to none other than Mr. Terry Lancaster. I'm very, very excited to have this dude on the show. Right on, man. 35-year veteran, been in the car business for a really long time. So I'm excited to pick his brain, man. He's also a fellow podcaster, right? He's got the... can't believe I forgot. Get you some, right? Get you some
radio show. Yum, get you some.
There you go. Yeah, man. So I'm super excited to have you on the show, have a conversation. Let's get into it, dude. How you doing, man?
I'm great, brother. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, and enjoy chatting with you.
Likewise. It's funny because we did a session for his podcast earlier, and so we're now we're on mine. So
a double decker.
Yeah, man. So let's kick things off with your background, dude. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience. Set us off with that, dude.
Well, I can tell everybody I'm the only sales trainer in the world who brags about never having sold a car. I've been in the automobile business for 35 years. I started working with car dealerships when I was 19. So you do the math. Started working with car dealerships, writing radio commercials when I was 19 years old. And I brag about having never sold a car because more and more in today's market, I think the important part of the sales job isn't selling the car. It's marketing the car. It's marketing yourself because we all have to market ourselves more these days than we ever have before. So I think what I bring to the table as a marketer is at least as valuable as the sales training. There's a million guys who are more qualified to help you when that 7-day window right there between when someone raises their hand and says, "Hey, I want to buy a car," and when they drive off. But what I concentrate on is I concentrate on building the relationships a year before and maintaining the relationships a year after. I started off worked in radio for a long time through college. I was a top 40 disc jockey in college and graduated from college, realized that disc jockeys didn't make any money. So I went into the sales end of it. Graduated from college and went into selling radio advertising, and all of my best customers were car dealerships. So I got really good at marketing car dealerships and went to a radio station in Memphis, Tennessee, which is the most powerful station in the nation, the only radio station in America licensed to 300,000 watts, FM 100, and I was their automotive specialist for a couple of years there. And then I left that in the mid-'90s. I left radio completely and started an advertising agency. Started an advertising agency doing nothing but working with car dealerships. And for the last 25 years, I've done nothing but work with car dealerships from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan to Miami, Florida, writing radio spots, producing TV spots, laying out newspaper ads, and then most recently for the last few years, working with dealers and salespeople on their social media presence, on putting themselves out there in front of the public using social media and other methods.
Right on, dude. So definitely want to talk about that here in a minute. But I wanted to kick things off with the sales side of it because, you've obviously been in it in some capacity for a while. But you also, kind of appeal to a broader audience, if you will, when it comes to just the salesmanship of it. And I wanted to pick your brain on that. We never really talked about it in this show other than, related to the automotive industry, right? And so let's kind of broaden that a little bit on this session, and let's start things off with salesmanship and kind of what that really means to you. How would you define that?
Well, salesmanship, I've always considered myself an accidental salesperson. I've been in sales, like I said, since I graduated from college, but I never really set out to be a salesperson. Never really thought of myself as a salesperson. I've always thought of myself as a marketer. And so what I've been selling was marketing services. So I think sales is actually, we make sales a lot more complicated than what it is, because it's really just helping people and solving their problems. And I've always solved the marketing problems, and the sales stuff came naturally. So I'm not a great closer. I don't pride myself on my closing techniques. I don't pride myself on overcoming objections, which is the stuff that a lot of salespeople do. I pride myself on my ability to prospect, to meet people, to get to know them, to find out what their problems are, and to help them solve their problems. And I think that's the root of sales, and the car business and a couple of other businesses have really gotten away from that because there's been so much low hanging fruit. The car business with the third party lead generation systems and all the mandates that are coming from the factory. The car business has really got to be a point of you stand around the dealership and you just pick the low hanging fruit, and you don't really have to go out and prospect and build those relationships, and people come to you with their problems, and you just have to, you have to pigeon them in the hole when they walk in the door. So what I do is really working back to the way most businesses operated 10, 15, 25, 30 years ago, which is you had to go out and beat the streets and burn shoe leather to meet people and find problems to solve.
Yeah, dude, I love that you say that because, and we were talking about this earlier, but I feel like it's kind of becoming a lost art on the automotive side of things. Like we're just waiting for that customer to come to us, and a lot of the times we're not even prepared, man. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just the truth, right?
Yeah.
The industry on that side of things has changed significantly with transparency and being in an efficient market, right? And consumers having access to a lot of information. A lot of the times they walk into the dealership and they're more prepared, right? Which obviously it hurts us because we lose that trust immediately with that potential buyer. Why do you think that is, man? Do you think, like, I mean, I get the point of, the technology side of things, but excuse me. Do you also think that maybe we're just, because of things like a BDC department and things of that nature, we've just kind of gotten away from the hunt and the day to day, just chasing that customer and doing whatever we need to do to.
Here's what I think it is, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist guy with my tinfoil hats, but I do. I believe it is a vast conspiracy in the automotive industry, and it starts at the very tippy top. The people at the very tippy top, the General Motors and the Toyotas of the world and all the factories, they have exerted so much control over the marketing process. And when digital came into the picture 15 years ago, really strong, when it got to be being a major driver in the automotive industry 15 years ago, the factories saw this as a chance to exert control because they don't care who sells the car. They don't care where you buy your Toyota, where you buy your Chevy. They don't care about that at all. They only want you to buy one. So at that time, they started exerting so much more control over the advertising about what you could say and what you couldn't say and which websites you could use and which websites you couldn't use and how you could market yourself and even down to the point of how your store looked. They exerted so much control so that they could control the process, and then the third party people came in and they started doing the same things. They started exerting control so that they could maintain the process, and it became the point that it was like a dual edged sword. It was like it's like a Trojan horse. They walk in, hey. We had this great big bushel basket full of leads for you, and all you got to do is dip your hand in and pull them out. Just dip your hand down in and pull them out, and you can sell all you want. It's just easy picking. All you got to do is do that. And they brought that in and they laid it at our feet, and we did that for years. And then now all of a sudden we realized, well, they just stole our watch and they're charging us $50 a pop to tell us what time it is. They took the marketing process out of it. They stole all our leads and then sold them back to us. And now most salespeople don't know how to go out and generate their own leads. They don't really know how to do the things that it requires to get above that thing. And the sad thing is when those people do walk in the door, they walk in the door and they're ready to buy. But they've done all the research. They know more about the car than you do. They know what their interest rate needs to be, should be, because they know how much you paid for the car. They know how much they should pay for the car. They know how much your competition is charging for the car. They know everything about everything. But still, 97% of them say they would prefer to know their salesperson before they walk in because it's a big decision. They want to know a human being, but they're walking in blind with their hackles up, and they're prepared to go into battle. So you're up against the wall and with the wrong mindset the minute they walk in the door because they know more than you and they're ready to fight. Whereas if you get out and just start making more friends out in the real world and get to them before they start all the shopping process, before they've entered their lead in every lead form on the internet, before they shopped every ounce out of profit out of the deal, You're going to sell them faster. You're going to be more likely to sell them. You're going to get higher grosses, better reviews, higher CSI scores, and you're going to have a lot better time.
Right on, man. No, I totally agree with that. That's that's spot on, man. Dude, so let's develop that a little bit, because I had Jay Jensen on the show. Shout out to Jay, man. And
I love Jay. Jay's a hoot.
Yeah, man. And we had a really good conversation about this, and I wanted to get your perspective on it. But when it comes to the process, right? You know, the whatever it's called these days, the 10 steps to the sale, whatever, right? Do you think that we've done a good job in the industry to adjust that to the times, man? I mean, are we how do I say this? Are we like taking into consideration where we are as an industry? And I'm not saying changing it, right? Because we all need, you know, processes are important, but have we made the necessary adjustments to kind of, you know, tie into the landscape of today?
Well, I think the problem is there's 70% turnover in the car dealership business. So car salesman, if you join a car dealership today as a salesperson, the odds are 70% that you're not going to be there at the end of the year. And the dealerships, they plan on that. They just throw spaghetti against the wall to see what'll stick. So they have a bunch of people who are untrained and who really are just there kind of blindly following a script. And they give them this script, and they have to follow it because they don't have the experience. They don't have the skills to do anything but follow the script. And what happens? I mean, I'm all in favor of process. You got to have a process. You need to have a strategy. You need to have a roadmap, the road to the sale. You got to do it. But you know, if a guy walks in and he's on third base, you don't send him back to home before you don't send him back to first base before you drive him home. You know, and that's what happens. I mean, I bought a car last year and went rounds with a car dealer. Actually, my daughter bought a car, and I kind of got involved at the last minute because they were messing around with her. And she walked in with a price. They gave her an internet price. She was ready to go. She had everything she needed. She knew what her interest rate was going to be. She knew what the lease payment should be. She knew what the cap cost was. And I walked in and said, "Hey, I've been in the business 35 years. I'm not trying to big dog you or anything. I want you to know that I know what I'm talking about." And they immediately started foursquaring me about payments. I go, "Wait a second. We've already negotiated price. Why are we back here on first base talking about payments again? You know, we know. Just give me the numbers that we've already worked out. Put that in a payment and let's go." But they had a road to a sale. They had to go. In order to make his boss happy, he had to take me back to square one. And start, well, what would you like to pay? Well, I would like to pay whatever this works out to the lease payment and my cap cost is. Let's go there. But because they had to start at first base. So I think the problem is we get so ingrained that we have to go by this map. We have to do these things on this road to the sale that we forget about where the customer's at. And you can't do anything except start where they are. They're in charge. It ain't about you. It's about them.
Yeah, dude, I love that because that's a great point, dude. Like, it's not that, you got to follow this blindly. As use it as, if you get stuck or something, then you have something to kind of help you through that situation. But it's not like, hey, this is a absolute must. And like you said, now the experience is terrible because the customer wants to go over there, and you're trying to bring them back to follow this process. I like that. That's a good point, man. Do you foresee that role changing? And here's what I mean. So I've had a couple conversations on the show and offline as well about kind of the future of it. And one thought that keeps coming back that I keep hearing from multiple people is something to the effect of a one person deal, right? So one person handles the customer all the way through, right? Maybe there's some sort of a greeter, a la Best Buy, right? Somebody that has the knowledge and can give customers all the information they want. But when that customer wants to take the next step, then the professional salesperson gets introduced, and that person does everything from the negotiating, trade, financing, delivery, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Do you foresee that happening? And if so, do you think that would be more advantageous than the current situation we have right now, where we're just, there's so many steps that the customer has to go through when they're buying a car? They're introduced to so many people that as soon as they start to build rapport, they're bouncing them off to the next person. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think that's the way it should be, and that's the way your customers want it. Your customers do not understand why they have to go back into the box. They don't have to understand why just when they've made the biggest decision of their life and they're all super happy, all of a sudden they got to go get introduced to another stranger and start negotiating all over again. What the heck just happened? I thought I just bought a car and now I got to wait 45 minutes to talk to some person I don't know. That's crazy. That's crazy. Why do we do it that way? Well, I know why we do it that way. And you know why we do it that way, but most of your customers don't know why we do it this
Right.
way. So yes, it would be awesome to have to go to a 1 hour, one person, the kind of model that you're talking about. And I think that's definitely a strategy. I think the bigger situation is going to be, are we going to a digital retailing thing where it's zero people? Where there's zero people. Carvana sold 300,000 cars last year, and they don't have a single salesperson on staff. So there's an opportunity that coming that everything is going to go digital retailing. And for car dealers right now, the only way you can differentiate your car deal, the only thing that differentiates your dealership from the other 20,000 car dealerships in the United States is your salespeople. The factory mandates that all your advertising looks the same. The factory mandates that all your cars are the same. The factory mandates that your buildings look the same. Google guarantees that your pricing is going to be the same. So the only way you can differentiate yourself, your dealership, is through your people. And so I tell people that there's kind of going to be a binary system, that the way it's going, there's going to be a certain number of dealers. There's going to be a certain percentage of the market that goes strictly digital. That I don't want to talk to a person. I'm going to push a button and there's going to be a car show up in my front door, or I'm going to push a button and I'm going to show up someplace and pick up a car. And the problem with that is when you do that, you're automatically commoditized and almost 0% profit. Negative percent profit. That's you're driving all the margin out of it. The other option is to go pure white glove, 100% one person. Fast, friendly, fair, and fun. Everybody's having a good time, and you're having a human bond with one human person who makes a difference in those customers' lives. And if we can combine those two models, where you have one human being who's making a difference in your life, and you have the technology that makes it simple for that one human being to make your life better, then that's the way. That's the way your customers will want it to be. Super simple, super easy, and with a friendly face and a helping hand.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you said a couple of things there that I want to touch on a little bit. Number one is, that okay. So the Amazon buyer, right? So when we think about it, and this is one of those things that's starting to annoy me. Like, we're talking about millennials, right? That's the thing. Like, millennial this, millennial that. Like, they're
Right.
19-year-olds, 20-year-old. Like, millennials are 40 now.
Yeah, millennials are grown ups. Millennials are the buyers.
Right. So we got to stop thinking about millennials as the next generation, because the next generation that's gonna actually buy the cars are gonna be a generation that grew 100% Amazon, clicking the button to purchase, sort of a mentality, right?
Yeah.
And I foresee that generation, when that generation is holds all the economic control, they're going to want to buy that's going to change the experience in a very, very big way, in my opinion, right? Like, because they're used to purchasing everything online. Why do you think that we were I don't want to say if we're afraid. I just don't understand why and behind isn't the word either, because I know a lot of dealers are progressive in this thought, but I just don't see a lot of action towards that end goal. Why do you think that is?
Well, the situation I was telling you about with my daughter's car. My daughter is a Generation Z. She is after millennial. She's 20 years old, and we got into that. I got involved because she found all the information online. I didn't coach her. I didn't tell her anything about the car business. She said, "Hey, Daddy, these one people want to charge me this guy, but these other people have it advertised online for $2,000 less." And why is that? So she came to me because she had all the information. She's on her phone while we're talking about it. She goes, "Hey, see, here's this other store doing this." And I think we do that because I think we're so resistant to change. One, because most dealerships are still They're not run by millennials. They're not even run by Gen Xers. Most dealerships are, at least from the principal standpoint, are run by baby boomers. And a bird in
Right.
the hand is worth two in the bush. And they figure, let's just ride this out. This has been pretty good. This dealership has fed my family for 3 generations doing it this way. This is the way we've always done it. So they look at things, and they look at margins are shrinking, and all this bad stuff is happening in the car business, and that's because of the technology. So they want to fight the technology instead of learning how to swim with the technology. They look at all this stuff as the enemy. They look at millennials and Generation Z as the enemy, and we've got to make them do it the way we've always done it. But if you learn, what we need to do is, but they're in charge. The customer's in charge, always, always, always. And you're going to either learn to swim with them, or you're going to get out of the way while they swim past you. So that's the problem. Is everyone's trying to hang on to the way things used to be and fighting against what they perceive as being a problem, instead of looking at these problems as opportunities. And that's like social media for me. This is a huge problem, because the internet has compressed all these margins. The internet has brought in all this competition. The internet has done all this stuff that makes the car business more difficult. But from an individual standpoint, one individual with a telephone can now reach thousands and thousands and thousands of potential prospects. When I first started walking into car dealerships, all the salespeople had Rolodexes on their front desk, or a green file box with cards in it that they kept all their leads and all their customers in. And maybe they had 100, maybe they had 200 cards in there, and they lived off those cards. Well, my phone now has 5,000-10,000 contacts in it that I can message with the push of a button, that I can send a video to with a push of a button, that I can send any bit of information into the world to at a push of a button. I can reach thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So the internet's not a problem for me. It's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy when you put it that way. That's so true. But yeah, man, I mean, again, we were talking about this earlier, but I just think that we're kind of, and not everybody, but a lot of us are still missing the boat when it comes to those channels and understanding the power. For me, I look at that the same way probably that some people looked at the transition from radio to TV. You know what I mean? Where I was like, oh no, this will never take off, sort of a deal. And look what that became. And now we have the power, man. We, like I mentioned to you earlier, we create the content, we edit it, we publish it, we have the channels to put it out there to an audience and build an audience. And so to not do that, especially if you're in some sort of position where you offering a solution to people, like to not do that, to not create content, to not post that out, to not try to help the biggest majority of people that you can, or like, if we look at Seth Godin's philosophy, the smallest community that kind of buys into your philosophies, then you're just wasting that opportunity, man. So I totally agree. Yeah, dude. So the other thing that you said earlier that I wanted to touch on is you talked about that white glove treatment, and what came to my mind was real estate, right? And the reason it came to my mind is because, buying a house is more expensive than buying a car, but I don't feel like the stigma is as bad for a realtor or realtor, however you say it, and a salesperson, right? We had Ali Reed on the show for season 1, and he talked about that, and it was so powerful when he mentioned that. But why is that person? Why is the person that's selling a car considered a salesman? You know what I mean? Like, why is that? And why haven't we been able to evolve that kind of perspective?
I don't know why that is. And the stuff that I talk about, the stuff that I teach, I really try to target toward anyone who sells B2C. If you're business to consumer, because, social media allows you to reach every human being. And I had conversations today with some salespeople. Every human being you've ever met is a prospect to buy a car. And if they live in your community, they're a prospect to buy a car from you. If you go to the grocery store, every person in that store probably drove a car to get there, unless you live in downtown New York or something. Every person is a prospect. Every person is a prospect to buy a house. Every human being has to have insurance. So insurance agents, every human being who buys a house has to have a mortgage for the most part. So these are all B2C that involve all you have to do is make more friends and be known by more people. But the old thing is, all things being equal, people prefer to buy from people they know, like, and trust. And if your prospect market is every human being in the world, your only job then is to become known by more people, known, like, and trusted by more people. And then that just brings it all to you. As far as how car dealers got suckered into this stereotype that they have, I really don't know, but it's like this. Everyone hates lawyers, everyone hates congressmen, everyone hates car dealers because most people don't know any lawyers, don't know any congressmen, and they don't know any car dealers. Everyone hates all of those people except theirs. They love their lawyer. If they've ever had to get in touch with their congressman, they love their congressman
That's
because they asked him for a
amazing.
favor and it probably helped it. And if you know a car salesperson, you probably loved him because if he's taken the time to get known by you, to make you know his name, he's done something that you like. So the reputation, I don't think, is earned. I've been working with car dealerships for a long, long time, and in every market, the car dealership, every small town in America, the car dealership is the backbone of that community, and the salespeople are the backbone of that car dealership. They just haven't done a good job of making themselves known to overcome this stereotype, and they let this stereotype propagate itself instead of getting out there and making more friends.
Yeah, dude, that's very well said, because one of the reasons why I started the podcast was because I was having such amazing conversations with some incredible people, man. And I wanted to be able to share that. And it just kills me every time, I'm in a situation or I hear the comments or the stereotypes, and it's like, why, man? Like it's so crazy that we're still there, and we haven't been able to evolve that all the way from the title, from salesperson. Why are we a salesperson? Why aren't we considered an advisor or something? You know what I'm saying? Like,
relationship manager is my title of choice. If you want to be anything, be a relationship manager. Start building relationships.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's tight. All right, so kind of switching gears here. I wanted to pick your brain on social media. So let's talk about that a little bit. So what's your take on it? Like let's start with what you currently, how do you use it, or like tell us about your own journey with it.
Well, like I said, I was doing advertising for a long time, and I got on social media for the same reason everyone else got on social media 10 years. I wanted to find out who I went to high school with that got fat, bald, and divorced. I mean, it was just purely gossip. I wanted to find out what everyone was doing, and I started playing with this, and I went for a long time without really taking social media seriously. But I ended up, I wrote a book. There's a book back here called Better Self-Help for the Rest of Us. I wrote that book purely for personal reasons, got nothing to do with the car business, nothing to do with sales, other than being a better human being, which can't be a better salesperson without being a better person. So I wrote the book and put the book out on Amazon. I started promoting it on social media, and the book became a #1 bestseller on Amazon, an Amazon #1 bestseller. And something weird happened. I started noticing, even people I've known for a long time, they treated me a different way. They all of a sudden, people kind of responded to me a different way or introduced me in a different way, but purely because of my image that they were seeing on social media. And I started realizing the power of this image. And like I said, my dealerships, my clients are scattered all across North America. And then I started paying attention that if I actually connected with these clients, and then I've got clients in Canada, and I play ice hockey. I'm a Southern boy from Nashville, Tennessee, but I also play ice hockey. So I talk with my dealerships in Canada about ice hockey, and they got a kick out of that, talking to some guy from Nashville about ice hockey. So all of a sudden, we had something to talk about that wasn't business. Even though I'm not there in front of them, taking them out to dinner, playing golf with them, we've got something to talk about. And a lot of these people are friends. And people treat social media. I have people tell me all the time, well, those aren't my real friends. Those are social media friends. Those are Facebook friends. Well, I'm here to tell you there's not a single bit of difference. A friend is a friend is a friend. 1/3 of all marriages these days begin as online relationships. 85%, if you're in the car business, 85% of your customer base began as an online relationship. It's not the virtual world. Online is the real world, and you need to quit trying to separate those two and have two different things and just be you all day long, online, offline, on Facebook, on Instagram. Just be the real you all day, every day. Try to be a little better if you can, and try to be a little louder if you can.
Yeah, I dig that, and here's why. So that's a really, really profound statement you just made. If you really think about it, right? We are looking at social media kind of in the wrong way. A lot of us are anyway.
Mhm.
And what I mean is that we're not recognizing that it's not that, like you said, it's not a separate thing. Like this is the it's part of the society that we have today. You know what I mean? Like social media is part of the deal. Like you have to have that presence. That's you connect with people there. You build relationships digitally in the world that we live in today, and I don't foresee that going away in anytime soon. Right? That's maybe it'll evolve. It'll evolve, right?
Yeah.
To who knows what, but um, it's not going anywhere, man. And so the looking at it like that perspective, like, oh yeah, it's not, this is not my, those are my digital connections. Like I wish Sean could have joined us tonight, because he always talks about you got to treat those digital connections like you said, like real relationships. You gotta and he has a saying about pixels that I can't think about right now, but it's really smart. But yeah, man, like those relationships, that's how you form relationships now. And think about the power of that, right? Like look at me and you. I live in Vegas. You live where are you at?
Nashville, Tennessee.
You're in Tennessee, right? And we're doing this podcast. We're connecting. We're talking. We're exchanging ideas. And this is all happening because of the world that we live in today, right?
Yeah.
And so if we don't break that barrier, like you just said right now so eloquently, if we don't break that barrier, we're really hindering our capacity to connect and to learn from others and to build relationships with others. And just because it's digital and there's a screen between us doesn't mean that we can't make that that relationship can't have substance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so I
and
really,
so many guys, when so many salespeople, they get involved in social media and they can, they recognize the power. I can sell a lot of cars with this. I can reach a lot of people, and they start using that as a sales tool. But the problem is, if you're trying to use social media to sell stuff to strangers, you need to look up the word social. Social is the primary component. It involves that relationship. Social is about the relationship, and that's what social media is about. The selling has to come after. If you lead with that, you're getting it completely backwards. You're probably going to end up selling some cars, but you're not going to do all. You're not going to take it. You're not going to take it to where it can be.
right. Yeah. Imagine that. Actually making social media social. Interesting. Like, dude, come on. Like that's the whole point, of course.
Yeah.
That's um anyway, so okay, so let's talk about let's tie the social media aspect to the automotive industry. And I gotta say, dude, when I first started, so I haven't been doing this deal a lot, like I started creating content for just to be completely transparent, for selfish reasons, for
Yeah.
work purposes, and it just kind of evolved from there. And I recognized the power that it had to help a lot of people and connect with a lot of people. And so I kind of evolved myself. But where how can we do that in the automotive industry? And the reason I'm asking this is because I do see a lot more people in the industry adapting to it and embracing it, right?
Right.
But what are your thoughts, for those people that are still maybe either on the fence, or like we just discussed, have that mentality of like, oh, well, no, social is different, and I'm gonna kind of how do you say it? Like
Compartmentalize.
yes, there you go. Thank you. Into two different segments.
Yeah. Well, then you can't compartmentalize it. There's only one you. And if you're trying to be one thing here and one thing there, you're never going to bring all of your superpower to the table. I mean, and being you is your superpower. Being exactly who you are gives you the ability to connect with another human being. And if you're trying to fake it, or if you're trying to hide this part and be that part, you're never going to let your light shine. And again, that is your superpower. That's the white glove service. You talk about Ali Rita. Ali Rita told me that said that there's the key ingredient is realizing there's never anyone anywhere in the world more important than the human being in front of you. And when you're in front of that human being, whether it's on social media or on video like this, or belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball at the store, there's no one any more important. And if you're not your full, authentic, complete self right there in front of them, you're not giving them the presence that they deserve. So you can't compartmentalize anything. And here my thing is always be yourself unless you suck. And if you suck, quit sucking. Don't try to hide your suckiness. Don't try to take your suckiness elsewhere. Just
Improve.
be you all day long. And if there's anything that you are ashamed of or don't want to put out there, be better. If there's anything you don't want people to know, if there's anything you don't want your grandma to know, you need to ask yourself, well, why am I doing that? If I can't tell grandma about it, I probably shouldn't be doing it anyway, right? So be yourself. Be yourself, only better.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. If you suck. uh, that's awesome. I love it. Okay, man. So we're getting really close to that time. I obviously want to give you a moment to tell everybody how they can connect with you. But I have one question that I want to ask you here before we do that, and that's just give us a strategy, man. Like one simple strategy for social media that somebody new in the car business can use. They can listen to this and they can implement it tomorrow just to get them going on the right path.
Well, I'll tell you the real simple one. Make more friends so you can sell more cars. I see everyone on social media, and they the people who get interested in it, all right, I'm going to post my deal of the day. I'm going to post a video. I'm going to link to the dealership. I'm going to do all this stuff. And they'll ask me, well, why isn't this working? So I'll look at their Facebook page, and they've got 137 friends. It isn't working because you're talking to an empty room. I tell them that's like peeing in an adult diaper. It gives you a nice warm feeling all over and nobody notices. You need to make more friends. You need to make more friends. If there's a human being within driving distance of your store who will accept a friend request from you, send them a friend request. Facebook's going to show you hundreds of people a day who they think you might know or might possibly want to know. If they live in your community, hit that friend request button. It's like a big slot machine. Whoosh, spin the dial. See what happens. If you talk to someone at the store, whether they buy or not, send them a friend request. And for the love of money, if you sell them a car, send them a friend request so you can take their picture and tag them in the picture. I saw all these people taking pictures of them delivering a car, and the person's not tagged. So that's you telling all your friends that you sold Bob a car. Well, let's tell Bob's friends that you sold him a car. And to do that, you have to be Bob's friend on Facebook, and you have to tag him in the picture. So make more friends in real life and online. That's how you do social. Make more friends.
I love that. And to tie this back to what we were talking about earlier, imagine doing that. Imagine back in the 80s, right? Trying to make 137 connections without social media. Good luck.
I know dozens of general managers and general sales managers who've been in the business, who are my age, who've been in the business a long time, and they've had the headaches of buying cars and selling cars and training staffs and dealing with the factory and dealing with all this stuff. And I know several who've just washed their hands of it and say, you know what? I'm out. I didn't have all this technology 30 years ago when I started. I'm going to take my cell phone and I'm going to go sit over here at this desk and I'm going to build me a tribe of car buyers, because that's a lot easier than trying to run this dealership and train all these other folks to do this stuff. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to make my money, and this will be the easiest job I've ever had, because this is a lot easier than it was when I started. I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I definitely know several of those stories myself. So, there's some truth for sure. Dude, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. There's one question I ask everybody that comes on the show, but before we do that, tell us about how we can get in touch with you. If you have anything coming up, tell us about the book. Tell us anything that you want to share. And then obviously, if it's cool with you, we'll go ahead and put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
So people can.
Yeah, I'm the easiest person in the world to find. I tell everybody I can't owe the mafia any money because I ain't hiding from nobody. You want to find out about Terry Lancaster? Go to Google and ask about Terry Lancaster. And Google's going to tell you 7, 8, 9 times right there on the front page that I help salespeople get more reviews, more referrals, and more repeat business by building more authentic human relationships online and in real life. That's what I do. Google's going to tell you just that. You can go to my webpage, terrylancaster.com. You can buy the book on Amazon. I got a couple of books on Amazon, but Google will tell you how to get there too. That one called Better Self-Help for the Rest of Us. I've got a couple of things coming up. In January, I'm going to be speaking at Fran Taylor's 30 Sales a Month workshop down in Orlando, Florida. I would love to see you there. In March, I'm going to be speaking at Matt Koenig's Rockstar Auto Conference in Las Vegas. I would love to see you out there, and I would love to talk to you any way I can. You can call me. Give me my cell phone number, 615 804-0311. You can text me, call me 24 hours a day. Let me know how I can help you. And you can watch the Get You Some radio show if you want to subscribe. Text Terry to 33777. Yum, yum. Come get you some.
Right on, dude. We got to talk about that really quick, man. Tell us about the show, dude.
You know, I tell everyone that this is what I would do if this is my retirement job. If I didn't need the money, the Get You Some radio show is what I would do. I started this. I started actually like right after I wrote the book. I'd been on after I wrote the book. I got on about 60 or 70 podcasts talking about the book. And I found out that I really liked it. I mean, like I said, I had been a disc jockey in college and had always enjoyed that. It just didn't turn out to be my career calling, but I like speaking into a microphone. I enjoy running my mouth. So after after the book came out and I went on 70 or so podcasts talking about the book, I said, this is really cool, but I'm really tired of telling these exact same stories, twice a week, every week. So I'm going to start a podcast and make other people tell their stories. And I started the podcast. I thought it'd be like an old morning show from a radio day. So I called it the radio show. And then at the very last minute, like the night before I recorded the first interview, I decided that I needed to capture video so I could use that. So from the get-go, the Get You Some radio show has been a video podcast. I just never bothered to change the name because I thought radio show sounded cooler than video show. Plus, I'd already paid money to have the logo designed. So I've had awesome salespeople. Had Ollie Rita and Frank Cerniti, the best, the biggest car salespeople in the world. I've had some amazing authors on the show. Bob Berg. We talked earlier about the quote about people prefer to buy from people they know, like, and trust. Bob Berg is the human being who wrote those words in a book 30, 40 some odd years ago. I've had him on the show, had some amazing people on the show. And every time I do, I learn something new. And I'm like you, I started completely for selfish reasons, just so I can have interesting conversations with interesting people about interesting things. And if people want to tune in and listen to the conversation and get something out of it, that's all gravy.
Right on, man. Yeah, that's real cool. Cool. Excuse me. Hey, definitely you want to check out my buddy here, Mr. Terry Lancaster. Check out his podcast. There's one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
Well, in 5 years, 5 years is a limited horizon, and here's what I know. Here's the thing with all great change. Great change happens very slowly, very slowly, very slowly, very slowly, and then all at once. So I think we're going to in the long run, I think the car business has some trouble because because of all the compression and the robots are coming for our jobs. In 5 years, in the 5 year horizon, I think we have the greatest opportunity, because there's going to be some people who split off and go completely digital retailing and fight over those pennies. And then you're going to have the opportunity for the people who embrace customer service and embrace customer experience and embrace the relationship side of it. There's going to be greater opportunity for them to build relationships and make friends for life and make more money and have more fun, because these other people over here fighting for pennies. I think that's the 5 year horizon. Farther than 5 years, it gets harder to say. I think there's turmoil. I tell everyone the last 10 years has been the car business has changed more than 100 years before that, and the next 10 years is going to make the last 10 years look like smooth sailing. So in 5 years, you've got the opportunity, and no matter what the long-term prognosis is, your only chance to differentiate yourself and make more money is to embrace human connections, because the robots are going to win unless you do the one thing the robots can't do, and that's form human connections.
Right on, man. I love that. That perspective, dude. It's super tight, and it just, I'm excited, man. I know that it's changing, and I'm just excited that I'm going to be a part of that evolution. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's a really cool time for this industry, man.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. This has been a really good conversation. And there's definitely some takeaways in here. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to share this podcast, share this episode with anybody that can benefit from this information, so that they can take it back to the dealership and implement in their day-to-day. That's all the time we have for today, folks. Terry Lancaster, everybody. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
sir. Appreciate you, buddy. Y'all have a good night.
You too, man. That's all the time we have, folks. And as usual, we'll talk later.